So, true story. Last night I went to bed, and Jesus spoke to me. He slid into my dream DMs, and he was like, Pound, dude, like, totally, you need to let people know about your build, bro. And I don't know what your Jesus sounds like, but my Jesus sounds like a surfer. So, ultimately, I battled within myself. Do I tell people how I build so that they can do better inside the Dark Zone? Or do I keep it all to myself, completely act selfish, and make sure I can keep stomping people in? I chose to listen to Surfer Jesus. Anyways, guys, as you can see my stats, I've got 170k DPS, 80,000 health. And if you look over here on my character, I also sit here with 60% mitigation from the weapon damage. My armor is extremely high, and I am an extreme tank inside of the game, but I can also deal out a whole lot of damage, proving that you can deal damage and also survive quite well. And in my opinion, in this game right now, so many people are like, I get so much DPS. And it's usually an inflated stat. You really do not hit as hard as it depicts, so I want to teach you guys how to build properly and what to look for in your rolls. So let's start with the chest piece right here. Now, this one is a little bit up for debate. I think health on kill is extremely useful, especially if you stagger with another piece, you get around 20%. That is huge, especially when you're building towards a larger health build like this. You can get some pretty hefty regen with that sort of thing, and it's extremely useful for PvE and even saves your ass occasionally in PvP. The armor is the most influential thing and #1 priority on an armor chest piece, because if you start rolling it, you will notice that that combined armor is 1275, and I have a pretty decent armor roll on both sides. And with that, that's almost the armor that I can get from 3 of the lower pieces combined in just 1 piece of armor. So that's one of the most important things that you can roll in this game, period. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to roll health as the 3rd major attribute, or if you want to go ahead and roll some high protections. Obviously, you know, health can help you with both PvP and PvE, but if you go with a higher percentage of protection, it's going to allow you to sustain a little bit better than overall health would in the PvE element. So that one is your choice. Moving over down to the mask. Now, this is one of the few items that can even roll crit hit chance. This is a #1 priority on it, and if you pay attention to the minor attributes, you can also roll enemy armor damage. I heavily recommend this because, if I recall correctly, this does not impact the armor of other PvP players, but it allows you to penetrate the bad guys, the PvE, the NPC guys, 6% better. And that's obviously still beneficial, especially if you're playing in the Dark Zone. As for knee pads, the major attribute priority #1 is the critical hit, and of course armor being a second priority. Now those are the major ones that you're going to want to look for. There are also lots of nice opportunities for minor attributes as well. I would recommend scavenging. People need some awesome loot inside of the Dark Zone, and again, some more enemy armor damage. And if you can see that we're almost at 15% already breaking through that. It's kind of like having that built-in destructive perk on your gun with just minor attributes right there. So that's pretty sweet. Now, scrolling on over here to the backpack side of things, if you look at this right here, we have critical hit damage, which you can only have 1 major attribute, and that's the one that you're going to want to look for. You want to start hitting harder for both PvP and PvE. And as for the minor attributes, I don't think there's anything really worth a damn in this category. I can't remember, but I don't think so. So that's all you're really looking for on that front. As for gloves, now this is where a lot of your damage comes in, especially if you roll that Talent Savage right there. It comes in handy. I know that SMG damage affects the gun for both PvP and PvE. I don't know exactly how well it benefits the gun or what it roughly translates to, so I would honestly take this opportunity for you to do more damage to elites. Now, again, like I said, you have to juggle which one of those you want. It's your call ultimately. But crit hit chance and crit hit damage is a must-go for these because, again, it's one of the few items that gives crit hit chance, and the crit hit damage is substantial. That's a big chunk, and you're going to want that on the gloves. Now, last but not least, we have the holster. If you can, obviously try to roll all 3 of those. You want stamina, firearms, and of course electronics if you can. And the major attribute is armor. You get a large chunk of armor from this. You can see I have almost 800 armor, and that's huge. And compared to the other stuff there, I think the only other thing that may be substituted in would be skill haste, which I believe is ultimately cooldown. And I think you can roll 9% as a max. I think so, from memory. But that is ultimately what you're looking for in terms of stats. Now, obviously, I've chosen 3 of my armor pieces with the chest piece, the backpack, and the gloves as stamina, and only 2 of them with firearms, and of course the holster to juggle all 3. That's where the 80-so health comes into play. Instead of having like 190k DPS and 60k health, I'm doing it this way, and it turns out to be a much more effective method. So this is my build, and I have made Surfer Jesus proud. So if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know. I will have a follow-up video sometime soon telling you guys exactly how to prepare and build a different set of gear for the future raids and what I think you can do for incursions when they come. But for now, this is my guide to the Dark Zone. You got a lot of penetration and armor damage for the enemies inside of PvE. You've got a lot of sustain, a lot of health and survivability with this build, and most of it can be used for both PvP and PvE. So that's what it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.